Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. It's Kevin Barheit here. I appreciate you spending time with me again today. If you checked out the initial video, you know that there's 3 topics that I'll be focusing on. One is the adoption issue. I was adopted. The other is alcoholism and drug addiction. I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic, 33 years now, yay. And the third one is child sexual abuse. I was abused when I was a child, when I was 9 years old, and again when I was 15. Those are the 3 issues that we'll be talking about overall. Today, in relation to those issues, I want to focus on one word, that is loss. I think it's true that a lot of people, when they say to me, well, gee, I was adopted, you were adopted, but I don't feel the same way you do. Or I'm an alcoholic, or I'm an addict, and I don't feel the same way you do. Or, Kevin, I was abused too, sexually, and I don't feel the same way you do. And I can understand that. Some people have one of these issues. Some people have 2. Some people like me have 3. Many of us have even more, and there's a few other I could heap on you that I've dealt with in my life. But these are the real core issues for me. But when people say, Kevin, I don't feel that way, I have to say, yeah, I can imagine that. I sure can imagine that. I can imagine that if I was adopted and nothing else had gone wrong or haywire. Perhaps, like some people, and I agree, they may not have had this loss that I feel, this pit of the stomach emptiness, this pain that I have to admit I can only define by saying a lack of worth, a lack of value, and that everyone's going to leave me. Maybe if that was the only issue, but I do believe and I do know that there are other people who are adopted just like me, and that's the only issue. That's the only thing that happened to them. And I say only in big quotes. And they feel the same way as I do. I'd really rather not spend any time comparing or competing with degree of loss. But what I do understand is something called compounding loss. And I think that, for me, is what helped me make sense of my travels, how things maybe compounded, how they grew and shaped me. Sure, the adoption happened when I was born. I was relinquished when I was born, and I was put in foster care for a couple of months and then was placed with my family 8 weeks later. I spent the first 9 years of my life with my parents with no discernible issues that you can really see at that time. There might have been some there, and I can reflect on them. But for the most part, nothing else bad happened. And then, and this makes sense to me over the years, when I was 9, something did happen. That's when my 4-H leader molested me. And that really is something that I've learned to understand as another loss, a compounding of the loss. Because yes, I was sexually abused, and that's one big piece of it. It changed my understanding of my own body, my value, my worth. One of the other things that I really think I understand is that my parents, my first parents, my mother, couldn't take care of me, wouldn't take care of me, didn't take care of me, and I was relinquished. Then my parents now, my adoptive parents who have been taking care of me, where were they? I'm there, a little boy, and I'm being molested. I'm not sure if this is right or wrong. I've been groomed quite well. But all I know is something doesn't feel right, and no one's there to care for me. I'm not blaming. This isn't anyone's fault. This isn't my parents, my adoptive mother, my adoptive father, my birth mother, my first mother. This isn't about fault or blame. I'm not even yelling or screaming or angry right now at the person who molested me. I want to make the point that this compounded for me the understanding that I have of the adults and the leaders and the people that I think will be there to care for me. They're not there. And the ones that are supposed to be leading me and caring for me, like this 4-H leader, not only didn't care for me, but abused me. Sadly, like I said, that wasn't the only time. When I was 15, it happened again. I was gang raped, and those 2 men who raped me did not take advantage of some teenage boy who was promiscuous. They drugged me and raped me. And again, this was a significant loss. These were older men that I looked up to in their 30s, people I thought were cool and influential. And they took advantage of me. And again, that's a loss. That's a compounding loss of what I'm worth, what my value is, who I am to the people around me. And at that point, it really started to teach me. I was meat. I was a piece of meat to be used and thrown away. These things did add up over years, and as painful as it was, the addiction and the alcoholism, those things were my own sense of loss. These pieces really compounded for me to say, this is what I think of myself now. I'm going to pour poison into my system. I'm going to shoot poison into my vein, and I'm going to do it morning, noon, and night. I'm going to put myself in positions where I will be hurt, where I will be arrested, and where people will not be able to tolerate me, and I will be left. The enemy became me. The enemy was my worthless self, born and abandoned, adopted and rejected. And this compounding of loss became my enemy. It became my belief that I had no value. Born and rejected, left and unwanted, adopted and abandoned, nothing more than a piece of meat for men and women to use and abuse and discard. Unworthy of the perfect passion of my marriage, the love of my daughters and of my sons and my grandsons, the adoration of my mother, the strength of my father, deserving only of loss. And every razor cut across my wrist, every drink that I put down my throat, every drug that I put in my vein was meant not as an escape, but meant to try to kill that unworthy self, the unworthy me. I wish I could tell you with all uncertainty that I'll never feel that terrible again. I don't on a daily basis, but I know that it's there, lurking right around the corner sometimes. I've done a lot of work, and I'll talk more about that in other videos of how I got here. The work wasn't easy and still isn't some days. I think mostly it's kind of why I'm doing these videos. One thing I understand more than anything else is that if you're getting something out of this, trust me, whatever you're getting out of it, I'm getting 10 times more. The way that I have found to battle with that lack of value and worth is by giving whatever I can of myself away. Giving and sharing of my story, giving and sharing of my hope, my experiences, and trusting that we can do this together. Because when I do that, when I give away to others, it acknowledges, it's that straight up acknowledgement that I give myself, that I have something worth giving. I have some value. I have something that others would find valuable. But the most important thing is that the trick is, I got to find it valuable. So I hope that you find some value in this, but I can tell you, without a doubt, I find some value in this journey. I care about what I'm talking to you about, what I'm sharing with you. And I hope that this does help folks out there. I hope that this is something you can connect with. But I hope more than anything else that you can maybe give back to me too. You've already done that just by even taking the time to watch this video. You've already done that by being a part of this channel. And I hope that I'll see you again. And I thank you for coming. Take care.